Hi everyone, my name is Eric and I'm the developer of GB Rover, a game about shooting your bosses and fighting for a better world. I had to think for a moment of how to do the intro because it's no longer an upcoming action platforming game. I mean, it's still an action platforming game, but it's no longer upcoming because it is out since last Wednesday, which was October the 13th. Anyway, this is this week's development update video or whatever. I didn't do a lot of those in the past few weeks because I was busy and also because there wasn't really that much to talk about. It was like, oh yeah, the game's coming out. I have to prepare all of it and everything. So it was oof, and not really, I felt not really worth spending a lot of time on that. And also I kind of tried to the closer I got to release, try to relax a bit because and I realized after the game came out that I was really stressed for some reason. It was I had a lot of pressure and all that, and it kind of it's kind of improved over the last few days. It's still a bit of but it's okay. Anyway, so what did I do last week? I planned on releasing the game. I actually released the game. I also fixed some bugs and introduced some bugs at the last minute and then fixed them the next day. By the way, if you bought GB Rover on release day and played it on release day and were wondering why do I have to play the intro stage twice? Well, that was my fault. What happened was a few weeks ago, I changed something in GB Rover's intro stage, to make sure that people learn how to use the dash move that the game has. But I basically, what I did was I created a copy of the intro stage just to test this layout, but didn't fully commit on turning that intro stage into the actual intro stage. And at some point I thought that I did that. Then I released the game, played the release version just to have some fun, and realized, oh wait a second, you never changed this. So I went into Game Maker 10 minutes after the game, after I pressed the button. I went into Game Maker and realized, oh god, changing, basically switching over the stages and whatever, it's a bit too much work because the copy of the intro stage didn't have all the intro stuff in it, and I didn't want to fiddle around with that, so I recreated that learn how to dash part in the intro stage that I had already built and that was already implemented in the game. But at some point I basically moved the copy of the intro stage in in the room ordering that Game Maker had beneath the normal intro stage, and when you finish the intro stage, the command that I give is basically, or that's been given, is transition the player to the next room, which would be the overworld map normally, but wasn't the overworld map for a few hours because for some reason, I don't know why. I'm really grateful for people for assuming that this might have been an intentional thing and maybe something that they have missed, that they have to play the intro stage twice, but it took a few hours for people to actually mention this in the game Steam forum, and when they were mentioning it, I was asleep, so I saw it the next morning and basically fell out of bed and immediately fixed it. But that was fun. That was also this is something just in case someone sees it and has bought the game on itch.io. Please tell me if the sound effects. That's hard to tell. The itch version, for some reason, I kept updating the version, the game on itch, in the background without it being able to be downloaded. And for some reason, at some point, it stopped updating a few weeks ago. I realized again on release day. I think it's fixed now, but now they're basically when you buy the game on itch, there are 2 download options for some reason. I don't know what's happening there. I just hope that it's good. I can try it out myself because I would have to buy the game on itch. For some reason I can't download my own game. It's weird. Anyway, so that's like the stress that's there and all that, and it was like kind of like. And let's talk a little bit about like how the release went in general, like also like in terms of like numbers and all that, at least a little bit, because like it's weird. You have like the big push on your release day, and you see some people are talking about it, but like some other things are kind of lagging behind, or like kind of not going the way you were hoping they would go. Like, for example, the Steam reviews, which, by the way, I'm very grateful for the people who gave the game a review on Steam. And yeah, but like you see that and you think, it's not enough, because like at 10 positive reviews, or mostly positive reviews, it like gives you like a nice visibility boost on Steam and all that, and I would really like to get there, but wasn't really going all that fast. But I also basically told myself I'm not going to look at any numbers for at least a day. It ended up like I ended up looking at the numbers the next morning and saw that everything is kind of fine. So, and it's like, it's kind of like the similar way, but like with how wishlisting and all that stuff went, with me being concerned about stuff, then me looking at everything and like trying to put things in perspective and realizing, hey, everything is fine. You don't have to like you don't have to be so concerned about stuff, like, actually. And the same is kind of going on here. So I'm trying to like, it's hard to like compare your game with like whatever else came out on Steam like that day, or like goes really well, because you're kind of like, that's like the problem. You're kind of like comparing yourself to things and to games that have probably been produced under completely different circumstances, with completely different like audience sizes and like intended audience sizes and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm trying to do is basically I'm comparing the way GB Robo is doing to like the way Splinter Zone was doing like 4 years ago, or more than 4 years ago. And just because there I know, okay, this is like kind of like a similar genre, kind of like made with a similar budget, meaning no budget, and made by me, and like just to see, okay, did the stuff that I tried to do better with GB Robo actually have any positive impact, or is it basically and you can still not completely compare it, because Steam changed some ways how it operates when you release a game, or where it's shown or whatever. But basically, so far, as of yesterday, GB Robo has sold more copies in 4 days than Splinter Zone had in a year. It still hasn't earned more than Splinter Zone at that point, because Splinter Zone for like 8 months was like had like a price of around $10 until I changed it, and which is why, even though Splinter Zone sold less, it earned a little bit more, but it's not that much more actually. So anyway, so I sold the amount of copies that I did with Splinter Zone in like a tiny fraction of the time, which was great. And what I also like can say in that regard is like, and you see it here, like GB Robo, like basically I sold a copy of GB Robo every, like, so far. This will change obviously, and it's not completely comparable, because here I'm comparing the first 4 days of GB Robo versus the first week of Splinter Zone, because I didn't want to bother to like change the date all that much with Splinter Zone stats when I looked them up yesterday. But in 4 days, GB Robo, like basically every 77, or like round it up, every 80 page views, I sold a copy of the game. And with Splinter Zone, as you can see here, it's like every 480. So roughly 6 times as much. And overall, like, people seem to enjoy the game. Like, so far, I haven't really seen that much stuff that I'm concerned about. One thing I'm a bit concerned about, but I can't do much, is that one of the Steam curators I sent like copies to mentioned that the keyboard controls aren't responsive, which again was like, it's not that they weren't responsive back then. There was like a mistake on my end, how like basically what the default controls were meant to be and what basically the game set at the default controls when you launched it. It's fixed now, but the keyboard controls were also working back then, and I would really like to let them know that the keyboard controls are working. It's not a big deal in general, but it's like kind of like something, because I have no means of getting back to them and like telling them unless they contact me, and they didn't. I just saw it, but I can't do much about that. But you can play the game with a keyboard, and the controls are also fully rebindable, and maybe I suggest that you do that, because I don't play platformers with a keyboard, and I have no idea what a good setup is to do that. I try to find a setup where I think, okay, yeah, that feels good for me to play, but not as much for something where I feel like, okay, that's something that like everyone might enjoy, because I don't think that it's like basically the what might be common convention or whatever. But anyway, so that's like all of that, and like so far everything is kind of going okay. There's still like this thing with like, oh, I really would like to get more reviews on Steam, but like I can't do much about that. All I can do is like occasionally on Twitter remind people to do that. Not on other platforms or in any other kind of way, because for example Steam actively says that you cannot ask people to do that when you do like and all that. But anyway, that's kind of like something where I hope that like this goes a bit higher still, because again, because let's put it this way, this obviously like the 77 views per copy isn't like something that will hold in like different circumstances, but for me this like points towards something that I also like saw during the Steam Next Fest, which again in absolute numbers wasn't all that great. Like I gained around 1,000 wish lists, but I was at around like 450 or whatever at that point. So I more than doubled my amount of wish lists, which is cool. Also, like about like over the whole week, over 20% of the people that visited GB Rober's store page put it on their wish list, which again is like kind of, and the like on the days where the visibility of the game was higher, or like where there was like more traffic over on the Steam Next page overall, GB Rober, like the numbers didn't collapse but instead improved a lot. So like it was actually more efficient the more people looked at it, basically, so to speak. So, and also with that, like with this number here, what I'm thinking is that basically this kind of indicates that or like indicates two possible explanations. First, Steam is very good of like basically sorting this game into like categories where only those people see it that are interested in these kinds of games. I think that's also like part of it, but this also has to do like with the way how you tag your game and all that. So it's still like something I had to do. And the other part is like that basically the way I set up the store page and basically the way I presented the game is as probably as good as I could have made it, because it's much more efficient than what Splinter Zone like did. And overall the game seems to interest more people, probably because of the way it looks and all that. I'm pretty sure that it's also that, because Splinter Zone was like very mixed bag in terms of like how it looked, and I think like GB Rober is just much more coherent visually, like partially because of the color palette, but also like because of the screen resolution and all that. I really feel like it just it looks better, but not only in terms of like quality of the art, but like the way basically the screen is compositioned and all that, like just like looks more interesting than Splinter Zone does, even though like some of the assets are the same, just I changed the color palettes, like with some, like not a lot, but like a few of them are basically the same asset as in Splinter Zone, because I didn't feel like redrawing a bunch of like 16 by 16 tile sets when I already had them, and like was like thinking, okay, if I like changed the color palette, maybe they look okay and I can use them, and it was the case. Anyway, so So that's like kind of something, and where I'm now thinking like there's this this thing like that you like occasionally see when you look up like games marketing, all that kind of stuff about like the marketing funnel. Basically, you have like this structure, and overall is like people that you can reach, and then people that you get to your store page, and then like the people, basically you're sorting like a group of people lower and lower until you get to the point of the amount of people that are actually interested in buying the game and like basically doing something on your store page, be it either a wishlist like before the game came out, or now buying the game. And to me, all of this points towards that basically the lower parts of this funnel are working really well for me. The problem really is right now the reach, because I don't have any. Like I tried to like reach out to press and whatever, it got ignored because of course it does. I'm not really mad about this because it's a pixel art platformer, and from someone nobody knows and without any publisher backing behind it. Why would any press like Games Press care about that? Some streamers have reached out, some fake streamers have reached out, more fake streamers than actual real ones. I mean, with fake ones is like people pretending to be streamers that have stopped streaming years ago with fake Twitter profiles that list their email address and whatever. One of them was the same. Was using the same account that they like tried to get a key from me with Splinter Zone 4 years ago. So that's like something that I'm currently dealing with. It's not a big deal because it's like. It's not that this is like a huge thing, but anyway, this like the wonders of releasing a game on Steam. Like suddenly you get all of these very, very interesting emails. But anyway, so that's like kind of the thing where I'm right now, is that really the thing that I should be trying to work on post-release in terms of like, okay, how can I improve the way GB Robo is performing commercially, is finding ways to get the game in front of more people. That might be something that I have to think about in some way, but again, the problem really is that my personal reach, both on Twitter or whatever social media I have, and overall isn't very large. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky to do that. But what this also can indicate is that probably with time, GB Robo will be like, will do just okay. Like not I didn't want to. We'll be doing fine. I didn't want to like rhyme this, but anyway, it'll be okay. Basically, what I say at the end, everything is kind of okay. Like I'm very confident that things will go okay. By the way, also like the last thing. Just because GB Robo sold the amount of copies like in 4 days that Splinter Zone sold in a year, that's still not a lot. I really want to point that out. That's still by far not enough to live off of even a month. So just so that you can see, first of all, how few copies of Splinter Zone I sold, but also how hard it is, like what a mountain it is to climb to just get to a point where you can sustain yourself with this, because again, like, and this is like again the difference between like absolute numbers and relative numbers. Relatively, GB Robo is doing so much better than Splinter Zone, like so much better, like magnitudes better. And then you look at the absolute numbers and you see, well, the like kind of the result is still the same. Like if I like for me material, sure, there is a difference between me getting, I don't know, like 1,000 euros in a year or whatever, than like 300. There is a material difference behind it, but not in terms of like, okay, I don't have to like apply for welfare every 6 months here or whatever. So there's still like, it doesn't still completely change my living situation, but it's still like a nice indication so far that what I try to do with this games, the thing that I wanted to like try out and see if I can do them, most of them worked and most of them led to an improvement of overall. Doesn't mean that like, and that like Doesn't mean that it like is enough for me to live off of right now, but it is something that gives me kind of like confidence that I might actually be able to get there in the future, because I can see, okay, I did a good next step. The important part is now figuring out how to go on from there. And let's talk a little bit about the future, just like for GB Rover. Like the other part is a bit like more vague right now, but GB Rover is like, I want to finish the endless attack mode that I was like kind of working on and off like over the summer, for like a later update. That's like something that I would like to do, like, or that's like planned. Mostly, I mostly plan on working on it over the weekends, or like on like some days during the week, but not full time, basically, because I need to take some time to like figure out, okay, what do I want to do next and how do I prepare properly for that, and don't want to get like too much like swamped with like stuff that's that obviously fixing stuff, like problems that might come up in that regard. I might add a like secret bonus stage. Not going to tell you if I'll add it or not, because it's a secret. I have like a weird idea that I was thinking about doing, or maybe not doing, for like for that. And like it really depends on like how I feel about that stuff, how I feel about like spending the time on it and all that kind of stuff. But I will do the endless attack mode and maybe a boss rush. I have to think about it, and also like try to get the console version like talks going again. I had like talks with the publisher that kind of like stalled because of stuff on my end, not from because they didn't have any interest, but more because I needed to like sort some stuff out, like on an administrative level in terms of like business bullshit. And also after that was done, I had to like, the game was about to come out and I kind of wanted to focus on that, and like I'm going to try and see if those people are still interested, and if they're not interested, I'm going to look for someone else, because I really think that GB Rover could do well on consoles, and I would really like to try and get it there. And that's kind of like plan for GB Rover. Aside from that, plan for this week for me is cleaning up my apartment, because that was kind of like falling to the side over the last few weeks because of stress and all that, and I kind of need to get back there, and like especially my kitchen. Oh my god, it looks like a giant mess. And figure out what to do next. Right now I'm leaning towards not making another platformer. Basically, so right now is I do not want to make another like completely new platformer. If I were to make another platformer, it would probably be a sequel to GB Rover, because I feel like it does what I like about platforming games, and what it is and all that. Like it's basically like build around and build inside of that game, and if it's just about, okay, build more levels, come up with a new like extra boss fights or whatever, and a preposterous idea why the story continues, sure, but not right now. So I have a few ideas of what I would like to do, and I have to try those out, and I have to like see if I can make them on my own, basically, because it doesn't, like, it's not a good idea to like basically start with something and have these grand plans and then realize, wait a second, this is way too large. How do I do this when I'm mostly or probably going to work on my own on this? So I have to like see if those are possible, and like adjust around this, and like try to find a good way. But it'll be interesting. Overall, like in terms of like the goals that I had for GB Rover, like the game definitely gave me more confidence in my ability to make something that people are interested in and that they can enjoy. And that's honestly, in terms of like, again, aside from like from the commercial success, like this would only be like for me like a thing I would be like incredibly happy about, again, if it were like resulting in like considerable material differences for me, which it currently doesn't. But overall, what I wanted to do with this game, what I wanted to express with this game, and what I wanted to use it for in terms of like challenging myself to try certain things, what was pretty good, and I'm pretty satisfied with like how well I did this, really. And it gives me confidence that I can actually do this, and that's honestly like that's more worth for me right now than like a few $100 more or less, because that's not going to make a huge difference overall. Again, it would make a difference if it were like a few $1,000 or tens of thousands, then okay, but it's not there, and it's highly unlikely that it'll ever get there, but that's okay. It never was meant to be that. When I started making it, I was thinking about, okay, spend a few months on it, put it on itch.io and be done with it. I didn't even plan on releasing it on Steam back then. So this is a nice thing, and it's a good like starting point to like start working on something else. I hope it won't take another 4 years for me to get there, but we'll see. We'll see what the future brings and all that. But yeah, that's kind of like what this is. This end card isn't up to date anymore because I forgot to do it. I mean, you could still wishlist it on Steam, but I would really like for you to buy it on Steam or on itch.io. It's also over there. Also follow me on all these places that you can see here. Just seeing it. I never sent out a newsletter that GB Robo is out. I should do that once I'm done here. Forgot half of the things that I wanted to do for release. Anyway, I hope you have a nice week. Thank you very much for like your interest in the game and supporting it and all that kind of stuff. It really means a lot. And yeah, see you soon at some point, I guess. Bye.